Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh. Obviously, you're a comic in your own right, but you directed. Was it Seann Walsh's special?
Yes.
Directed
Yeah, that was insane. Sean's just an incredibly impulsive person, and he knew that I was into directing and wanted to get into directing. It was like, do you want to direct my special in 1 week's time? I'd never done anything like this before. I was 24 years old, and he was like, you'll be fine. I was like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, no, yeah, absolutely fine. We're going to do one show. We can't do two shows, so get it in the can. And then, yeah, just the most stressed I've ever been. And then I filmed that at the Bill Murray.
Aye.
And I thought I'd have time to set up, but there's so many shows throughout the day that I had to set up and camera test. I had like 20 minutes in between about 6 work in progresses. So I was there from about 1 p.m. going downstairs, testing everything, and then someone's got like a fucking Edinburgh preview, and I'd unpacking everything, and then just in those small windows, I had to like try and work out how to shoot it.
That is so stressful.
And it's got this like look of the whole special is very like
yeah, it's cool.
stuff.
I like it. Yeah,
and it's like everyone's talking about the effect. It's like, yeah, it's probably because I had no fucking idea what I was doing.
it's like the thick of it or something.
Yeah, exactly. It was like people. Yeah, it was intentional. It's a very French New Wave. It's like
Try and match his vibe, manic stage persona, and
no, just have a very shaky hand.
That is stressful though, because when we done the live show at the Stand in December, like Frankie Boyle was on right before us, and so I had literally an hour to set everything up, and I didn't know, it was the first time we'd ever tried to record like in a live setting, so I had just, I think, everything I needed, but I was stressing out so much one of that hour trying
we were sitting backstage,
we were pretty relaxed about it,
pretty chill.
Yeah, they were sitting
because we don't have any skill stuffer.
No. So you're the brains of the operation.
Big time.
I don't know about that, but I'm a producer, I suppose.
You're
the
the guy
guy
who's watched a couple of YouTube tutorials.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all YouTube.
Hey, I mean, Stuart has showran our entire BBC Scotland series, but
different skills though.
Doesn't know how to switch on a camera.
Yeah, I'm hands off,
But how to make all these things? It's literally just going on YouTube and having someone go, so guys, today what you're gonna want to do is you click the and it's just all of that. My whole life is just.
Those people are absolute heroes, but at the same time, do you know, I think like the people that have got the best gear, it's completely wasted on them, because all they do is tell people how to use them.
100%. It's like there's no creativity, there's no artistry at all. They've got all the best gear, and they only for the gear's sake. It's like quite hollow and sad.
It's like, when someone you went to school with, they become a teacher, and then they immediately teach at the school that you used to go to. You're like, what are you doing? At least do one thing in between, no?
Literally have never had a September off in their life. They've always been at school, It's insane.
I know.
And so that's directing from a camera point of view. Have you directed shows like, telling them structure wise and stuff? No?
Well, like stand-up shows?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't really understand what a stand-up director is.
I don't think anyone does.
Don't really know. They call it director because people understand what that means, but it's not really a director.
Sounds clever as well.
It's basically a script editor, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it means different things to different people.
Ideas off, right?
Aye, I suppose
or
so.
like help sell the show a little bit, give it a little bit a kick.
Yeah. Has MD worked with a director in that capacity?
I'm not willing to
disclose.
No, I haven't actually, but I would be interested in doing it.
I think for some people it's just punch up with script, and for other people it's more theatrical and structure.
Well, I mean, if you have lots of moving parts, then I guess the director. But if you're doing straight stand up, it's not really hard to direct. And if someone, I think sometimes if you say there's a director with straight stand up hours, people feel a bit cheated because they're like, they assume that you've done less than
all yourself.
It has actually been all you, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you feel? Cause how long have you been doing stand up, Horatio?
I started at uni when I was like 18, so I've been going 6 years, but properly like 4 years.
And so and do you worry now? Because like I take it you maybe got some more work off the back of the Seann Walsh one. Maybe the people ask you to do their specials now, and then you've obviously doing the stuff with Finn, like and your own podcast and stuff. Do you worry about trying to balance like the focus between like try to work on your stand up versus or the
genuinely it's a really tough one, because as soon as you take the foot off the boil with any of them, they each get weaker. And stand up you have to keep going at it because it's so hard to be good at it. But like literally I went to Edinburgh for a month and the podcast numbers went down. We couldn't get a sketch out, so it's like trying to keep them all good is really tough. And also being known as the camera guy is a tricky one because you don't want to be just filming other people's specials relentlessly.
Yeah.
You're doing your own thing. Did you do what were you doing in Edinburgh last year? Were you?
I was doing a work in progress for my debut. Hopefully I'll debut this year at the Fringe. So it's just trying to work out that hour. It's not like a Edinburgh show. It's more going to be trying like my whole time of doing stand up. Can I get like a perfect 50 minutes of like the 6 years?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly what you
and
should
you're doing
do.
the debut this year.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. Well, I don't know why I say hopefully. Yes, I am. It feels.
You told us you got a room and everything.
I like I booked a room. I don't know why. I just think
you're a prick now if you don't do it. People expect you to be there.
Just part of me feels like I'm going to bail at the last minute. I don't know. I am debuting this year.
I always have that wee thought in my head as well. Though it's when people ask me, it's like, "Are you doing this?" Like, probably.
Even before the first show. Yeah, I might go on stage. Maybe.
So it's good to give yourself that mental out, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a bit of comfort. It's like, I don't need to do this.
I might not make it there. I might be dead by
You
then.
might get offered James Bond or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have to take that.
You'd have to. Well, would you take... Because I wonder... I don't think I'd be right for James Bond personally.
But you would take it.
You'd be a good James Bond baddie, I think.
No, I could do villain or like throwing papers or I'm sorry, like one of those like a comedy relief. But
you'd be like M or whatever.
Yeah, but I feel if I got James Bond, I'd be such a bad choice. I do think I would be on a podcast in 10 years' time saying that was the worst decision of my life. Just James Bond. It's ruined my life. Everyone hates me. Like I don't know if I would take James Bond if it was offered.
Really?
Would you take James? So it's offered to you.
Big gig.
Barbara Broccoli, the producer of it, comes up to you.
That's who produces this podcast. But
that's her actual name.
Yeah.
It is, so I was just because it sounds like I just made up a.
It sounds
funny. Like what's a producer's name?
Barbara Broccoli.
Sarah Cabbage.
That's who produces James Bond.
Yeah, Barbara Broccoli.
It sounds insane.
Yeah. So they come up to you and they're like, "We want you to." So there's been all this talk about maybe getting a black Bond, make it more diverse, and they thought
you'd be our first wee Bond.
You would know. Do you have any acting experience? Have you done any
acting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
That'll do. You're James Bond, and they offer it to you legitimately. Would you actually take it?
Yeah.
Because I just think
your agent is fucking forcing that hand on that contract.
You get a lot of money for it, but I'm just saying the hate I would get from.
Yeah, I would be terrible.
Because imagine the abuse you'd get online. Like, who the fuck? Why have we chosen? What?
What? That's
what?
5'5.5".
I think there definitely should be a height requirement, but
like roller coasters.
I do think it is high time for another Scottish Bond. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
And
I
Babs,
guess so.
Babs, if you're listening,
I think you're not.
You can't be First Minister.
You're not well
James
spoken
Bond.
enough, Jennings.
I can do the Sean Connery, man. I can do it usually.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
It would be weird if you did an impression of an old Bond, though.
Yeah.
What is that?
It'd be weird to do an impression of a previous Bond.
No, because it might be the same guy, so if anything, it would make more sense.
It'd be weird if they had Connery and then they cycle through all these English guys and then suddenly it's Connery again, though.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird choice.
Look, none of it makes sense, right?
It's a silly movie.
I suppose it is supposed to be the same guy in it. I just assumed it's sort of like the Doctor Who thing.
No, it is. It's not meant to be the same guy.
It's Pierce Brosnan there.
900 years old.
Yeah, no, I would take it. I would hands down take it. I know it would be an awful. I
just think it would ruin your life.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it would ruin your life because you'd have money and stuff, but I don't think you'd be able to leave the house. I don't think you'd get any work after it.
It'd be hard to go back to do Monkey Barrel at the Fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I wouldn't need to do the Fringe anymore.
I mean, maybe you'd absolutely hoof it, and it would just be like an absolute.
But you just did you see all the hatred Daniel Craig got for being a blonde Bond?
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And then people came round him. I think people would come round.
Yeah, we're like the second, third film, it's like, actually, all right, this is great.
The first
chubby Scottish guy.
Small greying Bond.
He's old. He should be grey, for fuck's sake.
What I think you could do is, Johnny English. We could have Johnny Scottish and it'd be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would work.
Why isn't it
That's
ever
great.
done
That's
that?
obviously
Jimmy
great.
Scottish.
Yeah, back at that for that one. Easy peasy.
Yeah, cut that out. I'll pitch that.
Would you do it? I mean, you
No.
could probably get away with Bond now that you've lost weight and
Well,
all
I'll take that, but no.
You piece
I'm
of
not
shit.
having Bond be long hair.
55.
I'm sorry.
Long eye, indie Bond.
Skinny jeans, yeah.
Wearing a fucking Cribs t-shirt.
I wonder what will happen, mate. Because are they going to? Because they killed them off, didn't they? Spoilers, sorry, but they
I've
killed
not
them
seen the last one.
didn't
Did
they? Yeah.
It's going to be Janet Bond or something next one.
right?
Or I don't know.
World's
Probably.
gone crazy.
They're waiting for some nut.
Roles are
We
fucked
can't
up
have
planes.
nothing these days.
So Horatio Gould.
Yeah.
What a name.
Yeah, I know. Fucking
great.
nightmare.
Very much the Barbara Broccoli of this room.
I really am. Yeah, that's what people say. That's going on the tour poster.
That's great.
I've got to
Yeah.
say, your name does match you quite well. Like,
Yeah.
If you didn't know your name and then you went, that's Horatio Gould, you'd be like,
Yeah,
that makes
I
I
sense.
think if you walked in and said which one of these men is Horatio Gould,
Yeah.
everyone would.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got an annoyingly colonial face. It looks like I feel like the first like British guy off the boat. You know? Yes, this will do. No, it's not ideal. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not like I come from like a really like old money posh family where we all got these ridiculous names.
You're not getting a lot of Horatios in Glasgow.
No.
No. But Horatio also, I wouldn't say it's a particularly English name. It's
No.
Horatio was in.
I don't think it's any. It's like Latin. It's fucking.
What's the sort
Shakespeare
of
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
detec-
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare thing?
Yeah.
There's a
He's in CSI in Miami.
CSI, that's what I'm
So
thinking.
what was, have you been given a reason?
I was
as to
named
why-
after the CSI character. My parents were big fans. I think so. My dad's called John, and he's like, literally, like his parents are like were like food and veg salesmen. Like it's really like basically it's like a footballer with a blingy watch. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's quite a trashy new money thing to do. That's why it's posh people are not called Horatio, they're called Hugo. They're called because it's like tasteful. Do you know what I mean? It's like cool. Like it's like if you called your son Haggis or something. It's like, yes, I guess it's technically Scottish, but no Scottish person is calling their kid that.
That's
It's like missing the point a bit.
I
think they always thought I'd call myself Harry. That was what my shortened thing.
I was going to ask what you can show, and I wouldn't know.
Well, yeah, because I think it was going to be Harry, and then I didn't like that when I was like at 10. I was like, I don't like Harry.
Whore.
And
But
it
O?
just stuck.
Then I'm going to call you O?
No one calls me. It's quite embarrassing how that no one's really shortened it at all.
Whore.
You just sit and
Or
wait.
doesn't really. So like
Ratio?
I mean, I literally will take anything that's shorter than Horatio, but people just don't end up doing it, which I think reflects badly on me that people feel
I think
they
sometimes
can't be informal with me at all. Just keep it 4 syllables.
when someone's got a unique name though, sometimes it's fun to just say it. So
Yeah.
I think that's maybe what it is.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's helped actually.
I'm Mark with a C, right? And
That's
like,
weird.
that is weird. And
It's good for branding, I feel, Mark.
it's
It
good.
stands out,
It's only me and Marcus Brigstock that come up if you ever type
Yeah.
in Mark with a C into fucking the Fringe thing or whatever. But so I said to my mum and dad like years later, because it used to be Mark Reaper who played for Celtic in the 90s, and I was like, who am I named after? And then basically they didn't really like T-Rex, but they liked the way that Mark Bowen spelled his name.
Yeah.
And so they just called me that. And then I thought I was quite like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And then, see, when I was at uni, I'd done a course in English language. And at one point, you were looking up the, whatever it's called, etymology or history of fucking where names come from. And Mark with a C literally said in the book, popularised in the 1980s in the UK by the singer Mark Bowen. So
Really?
I'm like,
Really?
it's not even unique.
So your name's a fad, really.
Yeah, basically.
And was he just doing that to stylize it, or was he actually?
I assume he was, no, it's like, French people spell it that way and stuff. So it's just,
Right.
that was just the way he spelled it.
Right.
Yeah. I do prefer it. I do like it. But I used to get annoyed when I was a wee guy and people would spell it wrong. I don't give a fuck. But
Yeah.
apart from when it's like, people that I'm like, send me work emails and shit. Because I did once in my old work, I got this email and they're like, hi Mark, and they spelled it with a K, and her name is like Claire or something. So I just typed back
did you?
Claire with a K. Hi Claire with a K.
So passive
Out of
aggressive.
Yeah,
Right.
it's quite funny.
Nice.
I thought.
Yeah. I like that. Fair
Where
play.
do you work?
Well, I used to work in a call centre, but even just now, like sometimes I get emails about like, for like comedy festival or whatever, and I'm like, make sure that it's right for the poster if you're not getting it right for the email.
Have you ever worked in like any shit jobs before doing stand up and stuff?
I had a very brief stint. I don't want to take any stolen valor of actually having a shit job. I had a very, very brief. I'd worked part time in an office, and I think genuinely a lot of my drive is that I really know that I can't do anything else, but like truly know that I don't have.
You don't have the skills.
I just really am dog shit. So like I was so bad, and it was insane.
What was the office?
I worked. I was basically doing work experience for my dad, basically, and it's like he doesn't live in the country anymore because he's so hard to work with. So he's like he lives in Indonesia.
He's been run out of time.
It's fucking insane. I can't even get, and so he just palmed me off to the company.
People love it when the boss's dipshit son works there and sucks at the job.
But I was so bad, and it's like literally it took them about 9 months to give me constructive criticism. And as soon as they did, I was like, I quit. I should have been, I should have gone ages ago. It was a terrible idea, me even working there. And they're like, we're starting to think maybe like since you come back from Edinburgh, maybe some of the work's been. I was like, I quit. I was like, I quit. I'm gone. No, it's completely fair, but I'm no longer working here. This is So.
How do you deal with the constructive criticism that audiences can give you sometimes?
I had it 2 nights ago because I'm doing this tour with Finn. I did the Newcastle stand and then Edinburgh stand, and this drunk lady. I mean, she gave a fairly all right piece of constructive criticism because I was making I was making fun of the name Graham, and then she was saying your name's Horatio, so like you shouldn't be. And it was like that was semi-fair, but also just. You never should do it ever.
Yeah.
Audience members.
Was that while you were on stage or afterwards?
No, it was afterwards.
Fair enough.
But it was just she had those kind of eyes where you can't really read what their vibe is. Just a bit pissed and just swaying back and forth.
Is that in Newcastle? Did you say? Yeah.
That was Newcastle. Yeah.
And you got the train up here to.
Yeah, doing Newcastle. Did Edinburgh last night. And doing Glasgow tonight.
Have you played Glasgow before?
Never been to Glasgow.
Nice.
Loving it. Absolutely loving it.
What are you thinking, man?
I'm absolutely loving it.
Well, basically all just podcast studios.
Well, I mean, I don't really know it. You probably get this all the time, but my family is Scottish.
That's Finn was just saying. We'll get some story.
Yeah.
Whereabouts do they from?
They're from Stirling, I think.
Uh-huh.
I think they're Stirling. And I've only ever been to Edinburgh, so this is a really important spiritual homage.
You should have made it one of those like Ramesh travel shows.
Exactly. It's just really you breaking down crying, just looking at the climb.
Back to the fucking Wallace Monument.
Exactly.
You get picked out 10 feet outside of Queen Street Station, then brought to a podcast studio, and that's the full experience.
Everyone who passed, that's probably my cousin. Amazing.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in London, and then when my parents split, I moved down with my mum to Brighton, Sussex area. So I'm sort of dual heritage. Sort of like Sussex, London. It's a real clash of cultures. That's what my debut show's about.
Never been to Sussex. What's the vibe there?
Sussex is because I mean you got like the home counties, which are like Surrey and Kent, that are the real Tory county vibes. But Sussex has a bit more of like a weird kind of. It's got like Brighton's there, so it's a bit more like liberal, and it's got its own. It's got its own distinct vibe. I think it's not like.
Is Brighton so? Because I've been in Brighton, I really like Brighton, but see Hove, is that like a Tory bit? Because you get Brighton and Hove Albion.
Yeah, right next to Hove is more just kind of residential and middle class, and I don't think that is Tory. I think that it's less. It's definitely less.
It's
gay,
less,
basically.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, I think it's all pretty liberal along the coast.
Aye.
Yeah.
Must have been nice to grow up around there then.
Like, I really like. I think I like the area. It's a good place.
Aye,
for sure.
Nice. And when did you get into stand up then at uni? Did you say?
Yeah, I was. I went to Warwick Uni, so I was in the Midlands and just did the student nights, and it was great because I could like bomb in peace for like 3 years, which was so necessary. Just really some of the worst standing, just work off the edges and can really. So I don't know, if you're coming into the scene with people you're going to end up working with and you just have to be really shit for ages in front of them, it's quite nice having it with no one who matters at all and just being absolute dog shit.
Purge out your system,
Just get it all out.
Absolutely.
It's weird how different student comedy is to actual comedy.
Oh, completely, mate. Completely. Because my stuff's always been very like straight stand-up, maybe has a bit of like an American influence. It's me talking about my life, my opinions. And that was like so mental to do in a student. Like I was seen as complete oddball for doing basically like
normal
generic standard stand-up about, because everyone had like poems, props, and there's me like talking about my actual life. It's like, fucking hell, this guy's weird, you know. He's not got any like car horns or like
sock puppets and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Did any of them that you were at uni with go into the actual circuit after uni?
I think there was a really, really good contingent of people, and there was like 5 or 6 really talented stand-ups. Most of them decided not to go into it, but could have easily been great. But the only one who is Eric Rushton, who's fucking phenomenal, and we were in the same kind of year groups.
Oh wow!
And it was film that you studied, is that right?
Yeah. So I didn't do like film making, like the practical course. It was like the theory stuff. So
I always wanted to do it. That was one of the things I wanted to do, but I was told to do, well, I decided to do marketing because it was the safe option.
It's quite a luxury degree, I think, in retrospect. It's quite like it's like, Mesut Ozil's a luxury player, it's very it's not very adaptable, but it is great for what it is. But
is that always what you've wanted to do then?
Yeah. Well, it was very like trial and error when I was a kid. I knew I wanted to do something creative, and I always like making stuff. But I think I've like music. I was like, oh, I'm absolute shite at music. So I was like, what's next? Can't draw, and then just slowly went through it.
That's how everyone lands at comedy.
Exactly. Yeah. Comedy's never the first choice. Everyone's a failed something,
Yeah, and then because that's the thing, because like me and Stuart both done English at uni, and like it's weird because it gives you some like skills, I think, on a base level, but then like obviously when you start making your own stuff, you're still having to learn how to do everything and go on YouTube and figure it out.
Well, English is a great foundation, surely, for this kind of stuff. Just as like a general humanities education, I think.
I guess so.
It's critical thinking is good. And like structure.
Because it's all kind of the same: film, English, or history. It's like the vague, critical thinking, humanities stuff is good, I think.
I know, sometimes
especially when you don't read the books, you have to come up with your own theories. Oh, mate, defend them.
So I'm a bit fucking dyslexic-y. I don't know what it is. I've got something. I can't focus for more than 10 seconds. So like I couldn't ever do any of the readings. Every time I did a reading, and this was like something that all my class realised, it would change my life. I wouldn't stop talking about it. I'd be like, I'd read the first 3 pages of a reading we'd have, and I'd be like, oh my God. And they're reading them every week. And I'd every now and again read one. I'm like, have you guys seen this? This is fucking insane. And I wouldn't stop talking. Every reference I make is to the first 3 pages of one of these readings. Just couldn't ever do it. But I was an absolute expert of like blagging in the seminar. Like, not the one skill I really took from uni is how to pretend you've read something that you haven't. Like, just
improv skills, isn't it?
Absolutely extraordinary.
Which you do, you just need to become a bullshitter, which is what is stand up, if not fucking that.
Exactly, genuinely.
Yeah.
I think I've told a story in the podcast before, but I was 1 year I was doing this course, and I was reading Pale Fire by Nabokov.
Oh yeah.
And so the day before the tutorial, I went to the bookshop to buy the book, and my tutor was in the queue behind me, so he's seen me buying it like without enough time to actually read it. So the next day, and that's set in like a university campus, that book. So the next day we go in, and usually, as you see, you go on Spark Notes and Wikipedia, and you figure enough out of bullshit.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking about the themes and that sort of stuff. And then he's like, right, so because this is set in a university campus in America, we're going to do a pop quiz, And a pop quiz basically is like dead easy questions about something if you've read it or watched it or whatever. Yeah. So, and it's like, what is the name of the main character? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And so then he's like, Mark, how do you not know these easy questions? You've been talking about the theme and stuff. And I was like, I've not actually read the book,
The themes you can just bullshit on.
Caught me at a fucking belter. Yeah. It was brutal. But that's it. So did you just continue doing stand-up once you left uni, or?
Yeah, I then, when I moved to London, I just started caning the circuit a bit. London was a bit, because I've been doing Midlands circuits, which is a very different. I'd only ever done stand up in the Midlands. These like ropey gigs in the depths outside Birmingham, like Cradley Heath, places like that.
So what would the gigs be like? Kind of bowling clubs and places?
Yeah,
like that,
it was kind of. It was because I actually it's quite a specific sense of humour, the Midlands, that I actually really quite like. It's very like subtle and dry. And it'd be like these, I just never really experienced anything like it. You'd have these like weird communities built around these open mic, like the Holly Bush. Shout out the Holly Bush in Cradley Heath, which is where I started all my gigs, and you'd just have these like basically alcoholic regulars who just you know where I really cut my teeth. But then coming to London, I remember like the London open mic scene, I think, is the most unhinged of all the open mic scenes, because it's like you got the biggest diversity of fucking mad cunts. Like the first open mic I did in London was insane, because there was Dangerous T on. Do you know Dangerous T?
I'm aware of
the
his
legend
work,
of Dangerous T.
No, I've never heard of Dangerous T.
Who's just this insane. I don't know if he'd been. I don't know what had happened. There was something potentially had happened to him. It was hard to tell, but just you couldn't understand a word he's saying. He sat down, just pure stream of consciousness.
On stage or
on stage,
off stage as well,
and off stage.
But they say on stage you should be like what you are off stage.
Yeah, so fair play.
Sounds good.
Dangerous T.
But there was this blind. So I'm sitting there waiting to go on, and there's this blind comic comes downstairs with this like nervous city worker who's clearly like helping him downstairs but hadn't come with him. So I don't know how this blind guy had got to the gig. He'd clearly been going from person to person on his way to the gig. Just he hadn't come with a helper. He'd seemed to have he was like hitchhiking help, and then immediately just stacks it into a massive pile of chairs. And then his opening joke, to be fair to him, was he had a dog lead and said, "This is my dog." Like Jeremy, there's no dog at the end of the lead. That's good gear.
Great bit. Yeah. Like it a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think the walking into the chairs and all that was part of the
no
selling the illusion?
No, I don't think so. I think
he did on the university circuit with that prop, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I always think it must be quite difficult to start, because I know Justin, obviously you kind of started in uni. Because I always think anytime I'd been to London through the years and done open mics and stuff, I always thought it'd be a difficult place to start, because you're not getting a lot of real crowds, because there's a lot of gigs just playing to other comics and stuff, isn't it, on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I remember doing like Camden Head at Angel once, and I met this guy who had gigged with maybe earlier that week, and he's like, "Oh, brilliant, this is the first real crowd I've played to in like 3 months or something."
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
Which, there's not as many gigs like outside of London and like different parts of the circuit, but I think you can at least get maybe higher quality ones, because you're at least playing to an audience sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
So
should probably explain to like the listeners of like there's a thing called bringer gigs. Do they still do them?
Yeah. So do you guys not have bringer gigs?
No, we don't have that.
It's not really
bringer
a thing
gigs is
here.
where comedians perform, but you have to bring someone with you as an audience member, so that there's an audience.
yeah.
And that's a big thing, is it?
Yeah, I haven't done a bringer gigs for a while, but the start of when you're starting in London, the bringer gig circuit is absolutely brutal, because you have to end up doing bring for bring with other comics. So you'll basically, for a 5-minute spot, you'll have to go sit through 2 4-hour gigs of open mic comedy with like 16 acts doing, terrible open mic comedy, as you all are. And then obviously you can bring friends, but when you're starting out, you have like your first round of friends,
burn through them pretty quick.
Burn through them, and then it's like you're kind of reconnect with people you don't want to reconnect with. That's what I found really tough, is when you have to constantly looking for bringers, and now you've gone through all your like genuinely close friends, and there's people who's like, I thought we were going to fade out maybe after uni, we're not, and then suddenly you're asking them to be your bringer, and you're trying to work on your set, but now it's like you're going for a drink afterwards, and like every set now is intense emotional labour of reconnecting with,
I
it's not a sign of a blossoming
no, exactly,
circuit,
yeah.
There must be a lot of people who bring like Tinder dates on a first date.
I don't know what the fuck people are doing there.
You've done that, have you?
I would say,
have you brought a date? Because like, it's either great or it's terrible. It's the best thing.
But I sort of think like, fuck it, and then if it happens, it happens.
Have you ever bombed?
Yeah, I remember because the thing is, like, so see if I'm in London for like a week or something, I've usually got gigs every night, and then I've not on the apps at the moment, but when I was, I'd be like chatting to somebody, and if I'd want to meet them for a drink, I'd be like, right, well, we can either meet at like 10 o'clock, or you can meet us just before, and you just need to come to this thing I'm doing. So I remember doing Top Secret. And I had a really
that does,
which is good, I said nice.
I mean,
but I would do it back in the day when I was.
So you just when you were like pretty
I've just done it throughout my career.
I mean, it's fine. Like bring them when you're now when you're.
Aye,
so
but
it wasn't when you were like.
No, when I used to. I remember doing the whole bar in Glasgow. And I'd met a lassie. I was actually doing a comedy course at the time. That's how new I was. And I met her right after it. And then we had to like get a taxi or something straight to the hall. And then like literally, it wasn't the Gong Show, but I wouldn't risk. That's far.
Too much of a
And then
risk.
I just walked on stage and done new material when I was like a year in.
Wow. Imagine your date gave you a card on the Gong Show.
Yeah, I mean that probably wasn't far off what she wanted to do that night, to be fair. But yeah, I just thought it was like I let the chips fall away because like I think a lot of the time it was just like, you know, even if you didn't do that well, like it kind of showed you were confident or something. So it's like I was just also like, well, what are you going to do? Because you need to fit your life in comedy. So,
but I reckoned for a lady seeing a man bomb. I don't think there's many things less attractive.
That's
you know, because I mean, the flip side is killing is very attractive.
Yeah,
of it, like making a whole room of people laugh is. But the flip side is dying on your ass is just not even an ick because that's like a weird like little thing that's like clearly just gross,
horrible.
Never want to see again. But then I was, because the night I'm talking about the top secret, so I done the downstairs and I had a brilliant one, and I went direct. You go straight up the stairs and do the upstairs room, and I die Mars there. And then we went. I think me and you were maybe both doing something at 2 North Down that same night, and then we done that, and that was kind of alright. So
that
it was like she's seen me. She's
seen
thing. Like good, mediocre, and shit, and then.
That's all right. You saw the whole smorgasbord.
Yeah,
you know,
you get it. You know,
because there's also this thing, especially when you're starting out, is like if a friend of yours, you invite a friend who doesn't know you do comedy that much, and they see you kill, then it's like they think that's what you're doing every night. So they have a complete wrong. And then if you bomb, it's the same.
Yeah,
so it's,
I also feel like that with the Fringe. I don't know if it's just because like I grew up not a million miles away. You know, it's like 35 minutes on the train or something. It's like people will just come out of curiosity. They're like, I don't know, I went to school with, or people I've met throughout my life. And you know what the Fringe is like? It's a real up and down. It's a whole month. Shows vary wildly. And whatever they've seen is like, oh, that's what Stu's like.
And it's so hard because like, because you obviously when you do 25 shows or whatever throughout the month, and you know how good it can be when it's good, and then you know when you've had a bad one, and there's nothing worse when you come out of what you feel has been a bad one, and somebody you know has been there, and then they come out and go, oh, I didn't think it was bad, and you're like,
yeah, it was.
Trust me, it fucking was.
I've been here a lot more than you have.
I've like focus group this every night for a month, and I know that was shite, but I know it's hard to go. But you know, again, I was always just like the thing of like, well, you know, it's just what I do. So you just need to kind of let the chips fall with the May. And the good thing is, if you do have a good one, then as you say, it is, you know, pretty cool. Like you look cool, but
high risk, high reward.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to take the chance that, you know.
Yeah. How are you finding? So you're doing a lot of sketches and stuff. That's the first time I'd come across your work. On TikTok and Twitter and stuff.
Yes,
you had a good few viral sketches with the like British presenters and
calling people fat and gay, but in a non-problematic way.
It's satire.
Yeah. Big time.
How have you found that since doing those videos?
Well, that's basically most of the followers and views and get. It's part of it's now trying to like remind people I do stand up, because I definitely went through a period of just doing sketches and kind of taking the foot off the gas a bit with stand up, but it's now trying to like
do both,
kind of keep people who've seen me, and my stand up persona is a bit different to my sketches. I think me and Andrew have a certain dynamic, but my stand up is a much more direct kind of.
Yeah, how do you find that? Because I feel like that as well. Like if I'm making sketches and I'm doing stand up, if people have seen the sketches, do they expect that from the stand up? Do you feel you have to give them something?
Well, I don't know. I think it's too hard for me to change my stand up really, but I think it's more. There's a core similarity. But it's more. It'd be a nice change. I like the diversity of stuff. It's good to make it feel like different across different.
I guess they're both just essences of your sense of humour, though, right?
Exactly.
If they connect to it, then.
Aye, because that's it. If they come along expecting something slightly different, I guess you just got to trust. Well, as long as it's still funny, they'll hopefully like it anyway, you know. But it is a hard thing. So I think you can second guess yourself too much when you get like, you know, people coming because of like one video or even like a couple of different ones, and you feel like it is different to your stand up. But I think you just go out and do it, because anytime I've second guessed that and you go, oh, what are they expecting here and all that stuff, then you just end
You've
up
lost.
You
I mean,
can't
there's no
second guess
plan
them
B,
anyway.
is there, when you're just being yourself?
No, you need to just be you.
That's true. And also with the TV sketch, the one of the British TV sketch is the one that people recognise me and Andrew most from. But we're so lazy, we just did it outside our front door. And now just people completely know where we live. It's completely clear where we live. It's like, because it's all in our area. And a couple of times people have seen us while we're doing it. So we're in the suits marching around talking about fat and gay people, and like they just spot us, and yeah, it's humiliating.
So, because was that supposed to just be a one-off? Did you think this is going to be a recurring thing?
I think when we'd done quite a lot of sketch. That was the first real big hit. Big hit. We'd had a couple like go all right, and I think while we're editing it, we felt like, yeah, this will probably be it.
This is gonna do it.
Yeah, and then I don't really like something that I think is quite different about our sketch is like I just get too bored doing series. I can't stand it. Like I'm always trying to do something completely new, because that's the only way I can stay focused on it. But then, and unless you have a hit, when it's just you have to. Keep doing it, because it's just stupid not to.
Yeah, I know that's a thing as well. Like, is that the reason why you've done more and more, because of that first time?
Yeah, and it's like almost like, I always want to be doing it, but it's you gotta do it.
Yeah,
play the hits.
You gotta play the hits.
Yeah, give the people what they want.
All these album songs. Well, I mean, embarrassingly, we did a sketch where the punchline is like a 20-second fart. And
great stuff. And
I think when you do a fart sketch, it's like, it's funny if it goes well, but it was our worst performing sketch. It's just, there's something uniquely humiliating about like, no, we're going to take a jump for this really puerile sense of humour, but maybe people will take it right, and people being like, no, that's actually really not funny.
It's not where we come
If I'll do this for the fucking likes, and then they don't even come.
It makes me laugh how bad that sketch did as well. Like, distinctly bad. Like, actively people won't like it.
I don't think this kid can be Bond. No,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's acting like this.
Has there ever been one so bad that you've deleted it?
Yeah. We're quite. I speak to a lot of people who make content, and people quite regularly will make sketches they don't put out. But we've had a couple where they just haven't been up to scratch.
Yeah,
putting out.
And you've posted it and then thought, "Fuck this! I'm taking this."
Yeah, we did one which was inside Partygate, because it was really specific at the time. You know when there was that person talking about. You know when it come out about Boris Johnson's Partygate, and they were doing like interviews with people, but their faces were covered and stuff.
Yeah.
And they had voice modulators, like they worked in the SAS.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about something so scandalous. But
yeah,
they're talking about nibbles and shit.
Yeah, and the parties they were describing were the lamest shit ever. So we did a whole thing where it was like a fake thing, and they're just talking about eating party rings and like fucking
funny.
Keir Starmer downing a can of Stella, and like just that's it, but no, it didn't do well, so we just took it down immediately.
Because I've done that before, where I've put out a video and it's not, and I've went, oh, it's out on a Friday morning, so it's a bad time to post. I'll delete it and post it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then it dies again. I'm like, actually, it's just shit.
That wasn't the problem.
When it dies on all 4 platforms. Because sometimes it does well.
Maybe it's more of a
others,
Twitter thing.
Yeah, no one thing. No one likes it whatsoever.
Delete this forever.
Yeah.
Do you not worry about it? Does it not feel more embarrassing to delete it?
Yeah, definitely. It's
but no one notices. Literally no one.
Yeah,
because no one saw it.
Yeah, no one's giving a fuck.
I have deleted a few tweets and then had people go, why did you delete that or something before? And I'm like, fuck off.
Well, that's I think
alone,
that's the embarrassing thing, if someone screenshots it and it's like, oops, nothing to see here because you've deleted it. And they're like, why have you deleted this? And you're like, you weren't supposed to see that.
Yeah.
No.
Are you guys big on Twitter then? Or do you use Twitter a lot?
Yeah. Kinda. I'm more Insta.
Yeah, I don't really understand Twitter at all. I just never really had it, and I've only got it now to throw some sketches on there, but I'm not on there at all. But then we actually nearly got not cancelled, but we got into the most controversy we ever got was on Twitter.
Aye.
Which was especially thrilling because I didn't understand how that app works. So when you're getting like cancelled on that, so it felt literally like being chased by like Polizia in a foreign country. I
don't know what the rules are.
I don't know what any of them, because on TikTok and Instagram I kind of know what the vibe is, but Twitter, I have some of the worst tweets in the game openly. You know?
What happened to that then?
It was food wastage. So we had this sketch which is about Jamie Oliver's 15-minute meals, and I just find it funny that British cooking, it's all about trying to make it as short as possible.
Being in a rush,
and it's like the only way to sell a cooking book, it's trying to make it seem as not gay as possible, where it's just like, you just bish bash bosh, you slap it in there, trying to make it seem and make it like 50 minutes, 10 minutes, like there's no. So we did 10-second meals, where it's like me and Andrew saying, welcome to Paulie Dan's 10-second meals, and it's like us 10-second spag bowl, and it's like us literally trying to make a spaghetti bolognese in 10 seconds. And we literally had an Uber Eats order of £4.50 of like a bit of beef, some chicken, stuff like that, and we were just pummeling it. And like, half a pack of mince we wasted, and maybe a couple of chicken legs. And we didn't think anything of it, but it was in the middle of like the cost of living thing.
Sure.
And so people are like, these, and obviously my name's Horatio, which fucking cuts through it. And then I think one fucking loser shared it saying, how shocking and diabolical it is to waste food so in a cost of living. And if it gets shared with that context, then all of his fucking loser friends are going to start sharing it as well. And it was fascinating to see, just because that's what I think mainly on Twitter, is that there's that real sense of like having anything that anyone else doesn't have and not being completely aware of it is seen as like an aggressive act,
Yeah.
Like,
that's
at
always
least you've got a roof. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, well, at least you've got windows. Some people don't. Yeah, I know some people don't. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'd say Twitter's the one I'm always the most worried about, because that's where you would
People
potentially,
are fucking crazy.
there'd be a pile-on. There's only going to be a pile-on on
It doesn't take
Instagram,
that
probably.
much on Twitter.
No,
Yeah.
but I always feel like that's with posting bits and stuff. I'm always like, right, maybe this one won't be for Twitter or something. But
Twitter is the place for pylons in it.
Someone in the pylon shared it, saying, I've never seen them. I don't eat this much food in a month. And someone who I know knows him. Someone who I know knows him. And he's like a GP. Like, he's like a well-paid GP, like doctor, It's like, of course you do. What are you fucking talking about? There's like this attitude though of like, I've never seen this much food in my life. Insane. It was fun. But then I posted the Dapper Laughs picture of him in the turtleneck.
Yeah.
But we found there's this way that you can like edit news pages to make them just look like whatever you want them to. So we posted on Instagram a BBC News live emergency ticker of us getting cancelled, like Boys Gone Wild sketch duo caught in food waste scandal, and made this insane thing where it was like, we've wasted so much food that Zelensky started sending food back because it's so like to help the UK, and this insane thing. But because people never read articles, people thought it was real. Like, because it's obviously just the image, the shot. My dad calls me, and it literally made me laugh. So he calls me and he goes, "Son, we've got to get out in front of this." And now I know. Now I know what it's going to be like. We need to get, as if it was like, Cobra team meeting. It's like, this is all actions go.
That crisis PR team.
It's like, no, it's a complete joke. It's absolutely fine. It was fucking half a pack of mints.
I try and stay clear of all that, but Dapper Laughs sent his cronies on me one time.
Did he? Really?
Years ago. I would never bother doing this now, but it's like, I just sometimes, like, when you just wake up and you're like, you're not awake yet, and you just go on your phone. Like, I quote tweeted one of his tweets one time, just being wide, taking the piss, and then I fell asleep, thought no more of it, because I was basically asleep when I wrote it, and then
what
woke
did you
up.
say about him?
It was so inane, but it was when, because he was on Newsnight and all that shit. I just thought the whole spectacle was embarrassing.
Sure.
Because this stuff was fucking horrible and misogynist and everything. And then, but he tweeted, Jesus Christ, he tweeted something about he was sort of playing off like it was all a laugh and it was all banter, like the Newsnight thing, when actually he was kind of grovelling, and he was. And basically someone said, "Oh, it was Will Guy when you went on Newsnight, blah blah blah," and he was like, "Yeah, if it came out now, I would definitely have dealt with it differently," was what he meant to say. But what he actually wrote was, I would have felt with it really differently. And I just quote tweeted it saying, I would have felt with it really differently. That's all, just because it really made me laugh. I never thought any more of it. And then like I woke up like 4 hours later and it's like...
But had he just retweeted you or
he was like,
something?
oh, these fucking small town comics, fucking blah, 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 always having a go at me. But, you know, oh, it's just like loads of bitterness.
Oh, really?
But I'll come in peace to Dapper Laughs, whatever, you know. But
there's a reason you get into comedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Me? Yeah, for sure.
Steve
It's one of my
likes to see
comedy
that too.
heroes.
Yeah, to different comedians.
Yeah, love his turtleneck.
He didn't bump into him at the British Comedy Awards.
He wasn't there. No, weirdly.
Weirdly, innit?
Yeah, he
I don't know
wasn't.
what he's up to now. I'm sure he's got a good career.
I think he's doing.
He's killing it, actually. He's got his own thing. It's just you never hear about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has he got? I think he's got like. I don't know if it's like a Patreon, but it's like a thing where people can just subscribe to see his shit.
He's got a nice kitchen.
Yeah,
That's always a sign. That's
a couple of kids.
Doing all right.
You know, that's kind of like the aim in comedy is to be one of those, have that like marble kitchen island.
Yeah, with the
Do you ever see
middle.
like a comic on TV loads and you're like, I fucking bet their kitchen's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's got one of those
I saw Greg
apps that you
Davis.
can move.
I was like, Greg Davis has done so much work. And I'm like, God, the fucking kitchen island in your house is going to be unbelievable.
No.
Yeah, man, you could
Think
waste
of the amount of food you could waste in one
Oh,
of those
mate,
kitchens.
I'd be fucking punting over. Shit.
One of the sketches I really love that you do is the medieval podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucking brilliant. Like, how did you, like, that's a running one as well? You've done a few of them, haven't you?
Yes, because that was a hit, so we had to do more of those ones for sure. But that was quite fun to do because you can do a different aspect of it each time.
Yeah. Because part of you goes when you watch that one, you kind of go, "Is there a full episode somewhere?"
But people keep saying more full episode and stuff, but yeah, it takes ages to fucking write. It's not like
it wouldn't be possible.
And also, I don't know if you'd want to watch a full episode.
No,
I don't know. I mean, we have done an episode of the podcast in the dressed up as it. But we're just talking regularly. So just like, and then we didn't realise, so we have this clip where we're talking about Pete Davidson or whatever, and I kind of forgot that we're both dressed up. So in this one, I've got like a bald cap and like a monk hair kind of thing, and he's got a knight, and then we're both talking about why Pete Davidson's attractive. Not mentioned the fits once. So it's just the most unhinged clip. This knight and monk are like saying, well, I guess, he's very,
That's something to be conscious of when you're putting the clips out, because we've done a Halloween one where we're all dressed up and it's like, we basically couldn't really use any clips out of context.
It's so weird.
It's really weird, but because even when you're going to wear something, you're always like, right, but I know, but if we put a clip out, do I want to be wearing this fucking
yellow
logo
shirt
or whatever? That's,
logo.
I just, if it's whatever, or
You've got like
a
an
football
alt-right
top or
t-shirt
something
on or
like that.
something.
Yeah,
What do you mean logo?
I'd just be like, I just like a Night King or something. Or like, if it's like, even if it's like fucking comedy club or something.
A night club.
No, I know that. I was really meaning like I either just being like, do I want the comedy club t-shirt I wore again, or really like a Fitbit up, basically. Is
it because you've wore it before and you're like, people think I don't have a big wardrobe?
Yeah. It's like that's
the
people on Twitter are brutal. This guy doesn't have a big wardrobe.
He's not only got a small kitchen, he's got a fucking shite wardrobe as well.
The clothes waste on this podcast is
The lack of clothes waste. He's just reusing it. Can't win.
How long have you been doing Boys Gone Wild podcast?
I started that podcast over lockdown because I went back. I literally moved in with my mum for that crazy first 3 months.
Yeah,
and then for literally something to do as the world was falling apart, I just did to camera a solo 20-minute solo pod every day, like 5 days a week.
Oh wow! How did you find that? Because I think that'd be the most difficult thing
Yeah,
to do.
it was because it was all I had to focus on.
Yeah,
and it was so I just like each one. It kind of kept me sane, and it was the concept was Boys Gone Wild. So I just talk about mental men in history or current. And
what sort of people did you talk about?
Because I've always been like, I've always found history really, I find anything in the past immediately funny for some reason. Like the further away it is, I think it's just finding out people thinking of people doing, I just think people were so stupid back in the day. It really makes, the Middle Ages is always my favourite period because it's just like, life was so shit. And people were so thick, just like, and I just like that. I just love that setting for comedy. I mean, obviously, like Monty Python covered it a lot in the Holy Grail and stuff, but it is. I do think it is the funniest period, especially in like European life, because it was just everyone's covered in shit, and you don't really leave your village. And I just always trying to imagine like having that mind, like trying to living in that time and knowing so little. Like what kind of thoughts go through your head? You've never left your village. You think the earth's flat. You're God-fearing.
You're just like a dog.
Just eating turnips.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I even think just like, no, I don't think people are stupid or whatever, but I just think like, what was it fucking like before they had the internet? And I cannot remember what it was like, but like,
even
imagine just kicking about and, you would need to get a fucking map or something, or and you'd need an encyclopedia to find stuff out. How?
My friend Paddy was pointing out how unhealthy it is, that like on TikTok, the amount of like beautiful women you constantly see. Your algorithm is just constantly showing you, some of the most attractive women constantly, or like the top 1% of women in the world, just constantly.
We know what your algorithm's like.
Yeah, exactly. But like on the internet, that's all you're in and the human brain wasn't built for that.
Yeah.
Because think about back in the Middle Ages.
There's nobody kicking about those wee towns.
There was 5 hideous women in your town. maybe you'd see like an aristocrat ride by on a carriage and you get a glimpse of one through a window. But that's what you're...
That was like the Instagram Explorer bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we just weren't ever meant to see that. So it's like there's so much stuff that's so unnatural, I think.
Absolutely.
I think our natural state is just thick as shit.
In the mud.
Yeah. But cool. the like A Boy Gone Wild, probably one of my favourites was Peter the Hermit, who, because I'd highly recommend The First Crusade if you're interested in funny history, because I think that's like start to finish absolutely hysterical. Obviously, a lot of bad shit happened, yada yada yada, but still really funny. Because basically, the Crusade started because the Pope was like, right, we need to take back Jerusalem. We're going to take a year to prepare. We're going to take back Jerusalem. And then this mad cunt who basically lived in like a cave, like a homeless guy, said, nah, we're going to go early, and just got together all of these retrobates and went on the People's Crusade. And they just fucking went early to Jerusalem, stopped off in Istanbul on the way, and were all like nicking roof tiles and stuff just on the way, stealing everything. First night they get there, get absolutely leathered and just get all obliterated completely.
It's like invented the stag do.
Yeah, exactly, literally.
So what was his name, Peter the Hermit?
Yeah. I'd check him out. He keeps appearing throughout the story of the First Crusade because he keeps surviving. I don't know how this little fella keeps making it through.
He'd be huge on TikTok now.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever been to that place? There's a pub in Nottingham called like Ye Old Thing to Jerusalem or something, and it was, I think, because it was like about during the Crusades.
Really?
It's like one of the oldest pubs in fucking Britain or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, man. But have you ever, what about the 30-year war? I've been listening to a podcast about that at the moment.
I don't know a lot about it. I know that a shitload of people died, didn't it? It was like the most...
It was a 30-year war.
Yeah. But even more than the 100-year war, more people died in the 30 years. So it was fucking tight.
Contained in.
No, I don't know actually much about that. Get some good shit.
It's been interesting. Just it's all about like the Reformation and stuff, and Martin Luther and all the Catholics becoming Protestants and stuff like that. It's interesting, all that stuff.
Do you find so? Is the sectarianism a big deal in Scotland?
Nah.
I know in North, you guys are chill.
I'm gonna let the two Glaswegians field that one.
Doesn't really affect the Fifers, does it?
Fife is like the demilitarised zone.
Yeah. Switzerland.
Yeah.
Glasgow,
I mean, we get it, but not to the same way.
Glasgow, it kind of stems from football, basically.
Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah. So
the Irish immigration in the 1800s and stuff
stopped off in Glasgow, but I mean, it's not as rife as it used to be.
I think it's more, to be honest, it's more, it's a bit more societal and a bit a bit more like socioeconomic and a bit more religious about who you support, because nobody's really that religious anymore.
No,
but
so it's now football, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the thing with the schools being separate, so you get Catholic and non-Catholic schools, and so like me and Steve grew up in the same area, didn't really know each other until probably
from opposite sides of the divide.
Yeah. Who's
crossed the barricades?
I went Catholic school, went to Protestant school.
I went
Protestant?
to non-doms.
But
I was probably christened Protestant, but I'm not religious.
No, so it's just nobody really. But that creates a lot of and then the football thing really. But it's becoming less and less, and it does sometimes feel like we're cosplaying at what people in Northern Ireland actually had
Yeah.
to deal with properly.
Yeah. I think there's just I do definitely see that, like, because it's so intense there. It's like you want a bit of at least the good part of it, the kind of the passion, without the
fucking every Celtic Rangers game.
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
Bit of passion.
Love
There's
it.
pros and cons, you know.
Yeah, but because that's the thing, because it's funny when you go to, like, sometimes you go to London or whatever, and I see Northern Irish acts do it as well now, but like, because they've got a lot of similar references to us, to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but in London, you know, because everybody's for every different walk of life, so nobody really cares about
No, not at all.
slightly
Catholic Protestant's so like low down the list. And
exactly.
Like, cultural difference.
Yeah, and even like if I've been gigging in London or whatever, and you bring up that, people don't give a fuck at all. To be honest, it's like it's not a big deal. It's like in Glasgow, it's maybe a bit more of a it's not that much of a big deal, but it's a bit like
really doesn't mean.
No.
Yeah. And if it's not religious in Scotland, it's really not religious in London. I mean, Christians, not at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I went to see John Mulaney in Dublin, and he had like funny 10-15 minutes of local at the top.
Yeah.
And he was just slagging off the Troubles, and it was really funny. It's like
Really?
this weird low stakes conflicts. It's like, no one cares about any of this stuff. He was just like laying into both sides.
That's funny. So Horatio, so you got your debut hour at the Fringe coming up in August.
Yeah. I don't still about to say hopefully. Yes.
Hopefully. And
Fingers
Do you know what
crossed.
time you're on?
10:45 at the Beehive Inn on Grassmarket.
PM or AM?
PM.
That's going to have the passion of an Old Firm match, that 10:45 in the Grass
exactly.
Market.
Exactly. My fans as well are very, very sick. I'm going to recreate the Troubles. No, I shouldn't say that.
But and also you can check so where can people find you online?
Horatio Gould Comedy on Instagram, on TikTok, Boys Gone Wild. Don't follow me on Twitter. I'm shit on there. Well, you can if that's the only way you do it.
Especially if you're offended by food wastage.
I'm going to be. I only use that account to waste foods.
That's great. And definitely check out the Boys Gone Wild podcast as well.
And, we do a podcast, please.
Some of the clips.
Do listen. Thank you.
Nice one.
Nice one. Thanks,
well,
Cheers,
thanks
man.
again for
Thank
joining
you very
us.
much for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming, man.
Before we go, just remind everyone, as usual, you can like and subscribe on YouTube, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can follow us at SomeLaughPod on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter, and email us at somelaughpod@gmail.com. And do remember to sign up to the Patreon as well. But until next time, guys, speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
This is great.
Cheers.
I keep forgetting to do. Do you do that every week?
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
good,
why I know
doesn't
how
it?
to
Professional.
say it quite quickly.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Went to shit when he was away.